Hello everyone, this is John Barton with Turtlesmith, and today we're here with Marlon Thomas. Hello Marlon.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. So I was listening to your interview, and you got a lot of stuff going on here. So you have a media company?
Yes, sir. CBW Media.
And what is the name of it? C-Dub?
CBW Media.
CB-Dub, okay.
Yep, CBDUB Media.
CBD. Let me
Yep.
make sure I get that.
Yes.
CB-Dub.
Yep.
What's that mean?
Actually, that was technically my rap name and radio name, my
Oh,
radio
really?
personality name, and I just been running with it all these years.
So yeah, okay. So I want to get into the other companies you have, but rap and radio. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Oh wow. Probably around I got to Germany like we was talking earlier, like around 2000. So I ended up doing an internet radio station over there.
Okay.
And then, it just kind of, that's what radio I ended up doing the personality thing, and I kind of brought that back to wherever I was stationed at in the States. I was at the radio station.
So let me get this straight. You created an internet radio station
Yep.
in 2000.
Yeah, in 2000. Yeah.
Man, you're like an OG on that right there.
Yeah.
That's like very early form of podcasting
Yep.
and broadcasting. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I think we were streaming on Skype, if I'm thinking right, or something like that. I guess Skype was out around that time. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
absolutely.
You
How
know?
cool is that,
Yeah.
man?
So it was really old school, I guess.
I know there was a lot of people back then were just trying to figure out the internet.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I had no clue about it, but it was cool to be able to, go live and, I had people all over the damn world, excuse my French, checking us out.
That's cool. So do you still have fans and contacts from those days?
Yeah, still do.
Rock on. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you have your media company, that's
CBW Media. Yeah.
CBDUB, right?
Yep.
CBDub Media. All right, I'll
Yep.
make sure I pronounce it right
Oh,
so
yeah, you
everybody
got it right.
gets it right out there, Then you have, you said you do car club documentaries.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay? Or documenting.
Yeah, yeah.
of
We
them,
pretty
so-
much, we document everything. We've been doing, pretty much doing that for the last 15 years.
And what does that entail?
And pretty much what we do, we just pretty much, in Oklahoma and out of state, we pretty much document the Oklahoma car culture movement. And it's pretty much, we from the low riders, big rim riders, motorcycles, all that type of stuff.
So when you say you document that, is that something that people hire you to do, or do you have your own channel that you put that on?
I have my own channel, and that's something we've been doing. We do it on our own. We film it and do pictures and all that stuff. So, we do the photography for it, all the media content, everything.
Okay, and then where do you publish the media for that?
My YouTube channel.
On your YouTube
Yep.
channel primarily?
Yep, CBW Media.
Okay, and so people can find you in the same place?
Yep.
Okay. Now, how do you make money at that?
Pretty much like what we do, we pretty much get I was telling CJ, been doing this for 15 years. The last 5 years, we actually started getting paid for this, what we're doing. And pretty much we do a lot of personal car video shoots, photo shoots of cars, motorcycles. Now we got to the point where pretty much all the car shows are going, people hire us to come out to do the filming and the media content for that. We do commercials for several different businesses and all that stuff.
Okay, that's really cool.
So,
all right. So when you go out to these things, you'll do some content for yourself or your channel?
yeah.
And then some content will be paid content, like a car owner or a company or a brand might want you to do some work for
Yeah,
them?
if people just sometimes people be like, hey, we want you to do a personal shoot of our car or our motorcycle. Cool, we'll do that. That's how we make money off that.
Okay.
And then we actually, my buddy that's a part of that with me, he actually released a movie documentary, movie that was in the movie theater. It's called Cruising Beyond Color.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. We'll have to look that up. So Cruising
Cruising
Beyond
Beyond
Color.
Color. Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, that did pretty good. He had that at it took about 8 or 10 years to film. Like I said, during that filming process, we actually lost a lot of car members to death and all that type of stuff. And so it was kind of one of them things showing that the car culture and cruising is not a crime.
Right.
Because
right,
they kind of try to put the car stuff into the same box as they do everything else. No, we got people from all sides, gangs, different affiliations, different races, background, educational backgrounds, all that type of stuff. But we have one thing in common: we love cars. And that's how we be able to bring all that together. So they like, how do y'all get everybody together like that without any arguments and confusions and all that? We all love cars.
Common love, right?
Yeah.
That's right. We need more of that in the world, by the way. I remember, so my business is billiards, and
Okay.
I used to go to Vegas a lot for the big tournaments out there and the
Okay.
big events. And there's a big pool room out there called the Q Club.
Okay.
And in that parking lot of the Q Club, I think at least twice a month or so they have pretty big car meets, and so it was always
Mhm.
really cool sometimes to walk out and see all those great cars. And
Yeah.
like you said, everybody was just pure love out there, and they just, I think they liked it when,
Yeah.
when casual people like me just came and
Yeah.
just were admiring everything they had going
That's
on.
what it's for, and the kids love it. Like out in Vegas, they got a show. They do a big show every year. I think every November, called the SEMA Car Show. You know what I mean? That's like the who's who of car shows. They have all the new cars that's coming out in the future, classic cars built up, all kind of stuff. That's definitely something you need to check out.
That sounds really cool. So do you go to that every year?
I haven't been yet. A lot of my car club members been, so I get to see all the footage.
Okay.
But I'm
well,
planning on going this year though.
So it's on your bucket list then?
Yeah, that's on my
Okay.
bucket list.
All right, that's cool. And then I see here you've got you have a tire shop,
Yes.
tire sales,
Yeah.
and you do also you do merch.
Yep.
So I was listening to the interview, and I heard you say something really interesting about the tire sales. You said that you found something that you yourself needed and all your friends needed, and you found
Right.
yourselves always going and getting tires from
Right.
people and going through tires.
Right.
Because I'm guessing you have you said you had the big rims and
Yeah.
and so it sounds like that those things kind of chew up tires a lot.
Yeah,
And-
we got bad roads here in Oklahoma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Roads are like, railroad tracks here. So you got potholes here 24/7. So it's pretty much one of them things where when we started the business, me and my brother Sean Epperson, it was kind of one of them deals where we didn't know what we was going to do. We just had a big old building. Didn't know what we was going to do with it. Our other buddy was like, y'all need to figure something out. So I'm like, man, he said, what are y'all around all the time? He said, man, y'all always buying tires, always buying rims because of the road. There you go, tires. He said, y'all got 1 million people around y'all that need tires.
That's a really smart
Yeah.
way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you take part of your hobby and your love, and you turn
Right.
it into a business.
Right.
So I think that's really smart. That's a good tip for those of you out there. And I often tell people, I say, don't take something you love and turn it into a business that's going to make you hate what you love. So,
Right.
so if you're able to balance that,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it can work out really well.
Right.
That ties into that old saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day.
Yeah, and that's very true. I totally agree with that. I mean, I love doing what I do now. I wake up, that's something I love doing.
So I noticed the last thing on here I saw you said that you do merchandising or you
Yeah.
do merch, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing T-shirts, hats, clothing.
I do
that type of
T-shirt,
stuff.
hats, clothing, banners. I do
You
like
have
a
a
business
full
card.
shop for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
print shop.
is your business primarily catering to the car?
It's everybody.
hobbies, or just anybody?
It's
You
open to
taking-
everybody. I just
Okay.
end up starting it out. Majority of my clientele was the car people.
All right.
Then the car people was like, hey, somebody else, I need some shirts made for a funeral. Well, I know a guy, and it just started getting passed around like that, So people are like, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Can you do custom cups? Yeah, So it just kind of, it's like a spider web.
Right,
It
I
went
love
out
that.
everywhere.
It's a great segue,
Yeah.
and I think that merchandise doing stuff like that really does. That's a need that
Right.
that people have in just about every type of business
Yeah.
or event.
Yeah.
That people do, and unfortunately, some of it is funeral stuff. And
Right.
memorializing people.
Right.
But a lot more of it is going to be just the churches doing their events and just whoever.
Yeah, somebody
So-
gonna have an event or a birthday coming up or something like that, gonna need shirts made. And I was like, hey, let me start a business that I know I can utilize, that it can actually be used. A lot of people that got 1 million businesses and they can't actually do nothing with it. Because they
Now-
don't have nothing that nobody can use.
Right. Are you profitable in the merch business?
It's not bad. Especially around this time. I mean, you have 1 million people doing it now versus to when I first started out doing it, maybe 4 years ago, it's probably about 5, maybe to 8 people. Now it's probably 55, 60 people doing it. But I mean, it's cool. You have your own
Well,
lane.
it is easier now to get into it because
Yeah.
of the what is it, direct to film? You
Yeah,
can just
direct to film,
order the
DTF. I do
graphics and
DTF
everything
and all that stuff. Yeah.
put those on. I had bought a whole screen printing setup.
Oh wow.
And then when COVID came along, right, we
Yeah.
said to ourselves, because we import from our own shop that we own,
Right.
but it's still importing, so we're dependent on the,
Third party.
well, not third party,
Okay.
we manufacture ourselves, but we're dependent on the shipping.
Got you.
So when COVID hit, right, they were sending goods over, but they weren't sending containers back.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So container space got really
tight.
scarce.
Yeah.
And so we started looking around, and I said we should find a business that we can do locally,
Okay.
so that we can have something in case that our other business slows down, or there's a stoppage or something where we can't get our
Right.
product in. But luckily for us, when COVID hit, apparently people had more time to design pool cue cases and things like
Right.
that. So we ended up actually getting busier.
Yeah.
But so I ended up selling that whole screen printing setup to
Right.
to one of my other customers who has her own business in the
Okay.
billiard business, where she does T-shirts and merch and clothing design, but specifically for billiards.
Got you.
So she's making good use of it instead of it collecting dust in my garage, and I'm just happy I was able to pass that
Yeah.
business equipment on to her.
Yeah. Yeah. When that COVID hit and the pandemic hit, it really opened up a lot of opportunities for everybody to really explore on what they was going to try to do business wise. You found out who was good business people. You found out who wasn't.
That's it's funny you say that, because I heard you say that you opened up your business. Which one did you open during COVID? Was it the tire sales?
Actually, my print press.
Printing business,
Yeah,
okay.
the tire shop had been open 7 years. It was open a couple years before that even
Okay,
happened.
rock on.
So
So what you said though is very insightful,
yeah,
because it's not the good times that show people who a good business person is.
Yeah.
It's the bad times.
Yeah.
Who's prepared for that, who can weather it. And some of the arguments that I've had with people on Facebook, they like to blame everybody. They blame the government.
Yeah,
they blame,
everybody.
blame space lasers,
Right.
whatever it is. They're going to blame everything but themselves
themselves.
for their success or
Yeah.
their failure. Well, of course, they always take credit for their success,
Yeah.
but for the failure, it's always someone else's
Yeah.
problem. So I hear people say, "Well, COVID, ruined my business and this," and then I say to them, as much as I can, I kind of dig into what they were doing,
Right.
and I find out, well, you had holes in your business before COVID hit.
yeah,
So,
you had holes in the boat before you even got in the water.
Exactly.
you was trying to patch them up. Another one to pop up, patching that up. Another one to happen. So
Right.
a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to take that responsibility, or AKA accountability. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And they just don't. I tell people all the time. I'm like, did I have a few hard times during the pandemic? Yeah, but I'm like, it wasn't hard like everybody else is making it seem. I'm like, dude, like, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, and I think that people often, they don't want to face up to that, and then
Right.
they really do look for any excuse.
Right. Or you have a lot of people that did try it. I've seen a lot of people try it with the food trucks, doing the same thing I did, and they have a great couple months where they done made probably $8,000 in a couple months, and that's probably the most they ever made ever in their life at that short period of time. And they think, okay, cool, I can relax. I can kick my shoes off. I can relax now. No, you can't relax. You got to keep going. You got to keep your foot on the gas.
And that's that's a common problem in business, is people confuse income with profit,
Right.
and they don't understand the difference and how you have to adjust your margins. A lot of people don't charge enough, and they don't know how to price themselves.
Right.
Things like that. They take on a lot of business for their cheap prices, and then at the end of it, they find out, well, I made a lot of money, but I don't have anything left over.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So that happens. So that that segues into something else that I saw you. I heard you say earlier, which was, when we talked about like what is we often ask people, what is like your biggest failure. You said not going hard enough in the beginning.
Yep. Not going hard enough. I was taking everything light. You know what I mean? And I look at it like I was saying earlier. I bust my tail at a job. I made a company a lot of money. I always told myself, hey, when it come around that time for me to start my own business, I want to make myself that money too. So when I got done, I was kind of like, I was like everybody else. Hey, I got a business, and I missed a lot of business just by relaxing. I said, let me get on the gas. I had to stay on the. I had to get on the gas. Let me push myself just as hard as I did for 20 years at this company. Let me push myself hard. For the same 20 years for myself.
And I think that's a smart thing too, because another thing you said was that you looked around, you saw how much money the company was making.
Yeah.
Um,
We was making them a couple million a year. I ain't even just off routes.
Right.
I know that with my own, I seen it with my own eyes, so I'm looking like, damn, but they making a couple million, we getting a couple pennies. You know what I'm saying? So.
And that's, on one side of it, you can't really fault a company for that.
Right.
Bigger corporations
Right.
and things, they're always looking for the bottom line. They're looking for their shareholders.
Right.
They're looking out for who their investors are much more than they're looking out for who their employees are.
Right.
But I do think it's very, very smart, especially if you're considering going into business, is to see how is your employer doing business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you, as much as you can figure it out, what are the margins? What are they, like what are the things that they're doing right that you could adopt?
Yeah. I watched that the whole time, and I'm kind of like, I was telling CJ, like, majority of my clients I was doing business with, like, all I had to do was talk to mechanic shops about parts and all this and everything else. Those are some of my clients now. So,
yeah,
so it ended up spinning off like that, which I can't complain. It ended up playing out in my favor. So I would never thought about it. I'm like, man, so a few of my clients I see out when I'm out and about in traffic, or they'll come to the car show. What are you doing now? I'm like, on that print shop. That's you. I'm like, yeah. Well, I need some stuff done. So it went from 1 to like a total of 6 that I actually do merchandise for.
Excellent.
On a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, that's another thing that people don't really pay attention to enough is networking.
Yeah.
And really taking the time. Now me, I'm a little bit of an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I know a lot of people, it takes a little bit of liquid courage sometimes for me to start, becoming the life of the party.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't use my networking as much as I should, but I feel good that I've earned the trust of a lot of people that I really respect. That they seem to respect me, and throughout my business life, there've been a few times when I've needed something, and I've been able to make a few phone calls, and I've been able to get it. And then now, later in my business life, I'm the one that gets the call, and I'm able to pay that back.
Right.
So, the value of networking and the value of knowing all of your former customers that you ran on those routes,
Right.
and being able to turn them into your
Clients.
customers now
Right.
is really solid.
Yeah.
And the thing is that fits a lot of it in there because you ran the parts, right? So
Right.
you know the guys that are doing the customizing on cars
Yeah.
and stuff like that, the ones that are going to need tires.
Right.
And you really dovetailed a lot of things in here.
Yeah.
That's
So it came back tenfold. I would say that. I would definitely say that. That my strength was always networking. Whether I was doing music, whether I was doing radio, doing the corporate world. For some reason, even when I was at the hospital, they like, we're gonna let Martin be the spokesperson, and it just ended up playing out being my part. I guess that was because of radio. I had you got to talk on radio.
Yeah, I mean, if you started it in 2000, way back then, you definitely have a lot of practice in.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of expert hours into it, so that obviously plays really well. So you did a great job on that, and I can see that you going out to do the car club, doing all the documentaries and stuff.
Yeah.
That has to also bring you a lot of business and a lot of respect back, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, like I said, we do a lot of commercials, like business commercials for different companies, and we got we have like one of my people I actually deal with is my uncle. His name is Tombo Racing, Uncle Tombo. That's what we call him. But if you look up Tombo Racing, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records, all that type of stuff. He's really a legend around. He's from California, so he ended up actually putting us in a good position when we was doing his commercials with a lot of good people, because all his best friends growing up is Ice Cube. When Ice Cube came to town, that's who we was like, okay, bam, y'all here, y'all right in front of these people. We was in front of the whole cast of Friday. And this was just probably about a couple months ago. So, but everybody we met through him, was like been some type of actor or something. He didn't build bikes for Hugh Hefner, all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
that's an amazing contact right there.
Yeah.
So now I lost my train of thought on the next question I was going to ask you, but those commercials that you make, are they the type of commercials that people would see on TV? Or are they internet based, or how?
We do internet based, we do TV based commercials and all that type of stuff too. You know, we do I really tapped into the highlight reel market, and that's where I get a lot of my views from is the highlight reels. So I kind of make my commercials like pop ins, like we had to do at the radio station, like a 30-second pop in. You know, because the average person gonna actually look at a video or visualize something for at least 0 to 30 seconds, maybe a minute longer. You don't catch a lot of people that look at a whole full video half the time, no matter what format it is, whether it's hip hop, R&B, rock. You know, a lot of people they listen to the song, but they're not going to sit there and visually look.
Right.
All
well,
day.
I think there's a lot of art to being able to condense the information into that space. I'm not that way. I'll turn on the camera and just talk to it for 2 hours, you know, something like that, and just go off on a million tangents. So I tell people all the time, if you're having trouble sleeping, you know, put one of my videos on.
You gotta be a real good talk, you know, to keep people in tune, and that's why I tell people all the time that's what radio and talk radio, you know, or talk blogging or whatever. If you got the right stories and the right topics, people will tune in.
Excellent. So the next question I wanted to ask is, do you do the video editing, or do you have people doing it for you?
I do the video editing myself. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have people working for you?
Actually, it's me and my buddy. We do all the filming, we do all the pictures, we do all our own editing, all that type of stuff. You know, we started out as a 2-man team, and 15 years later, we still a 2-man team. We just kind of left it like that, you know.
Well, that sounds like an awful lot of work.
Yeah, it's we did like 15 DVDs, 17 DVDs. So, and we got one documentary movie. So
you said in your interview that you want to build a business for your family, some legacy, some generational wealth.
Yep.
So along those lines, you said you're bringing your niece in.
Yeah, she's already in. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking at bringing other people in?
Very possible on down the line. You know, once I get her to the point where she's able to, you know, she's able to do what I do, bring some more people in, and you know, I just want to build a legacy.
Right. Have you thought about an exit strategy?
I haven't thought about that yet. You know, I need to think about that. That's a good one. You got me on that one.
Well, we had talked earlier about, you know, the places we want to travel and things like that. You know.
I plan on my finishing the bucket list. Get back to Germany. See a lot of places I didn't get to see. Hit the road. You know, take my son on the road.
It's important. You know, I spent 10 years in Germany. And I traveled all over Europe, but I hardly saw any of Europe. I saw a lot of pool rooms. I saw the inside of pool rooms.
Yeah.
I saw the inside of convention halls. But I drove past all the scenic stuff and everything. You know, I took a couple vacations, but not nearly as many as I should have or could have.
Yeah.
And I found that in business, so I started my first business when I was in Germany. So I've been doing this for about 35 years now, all told, you know, with a few years off working for someone else, but you know, pretty much 30 years in business. And one thing I find is that the time just seems to slip away.
Yeah.
You know, you get caught up in doing work. You
go by fast.
Yeah, you really. It seems like that you're just constantly every day moving from one thing to another.
Right.
And you just never take that vacation.
Yeah, and that's how it was over there. It went by fast. I mean, we seen a lot of places. We went to a lot of places, but it was like still in them 5-6 years, it was like, dang, we still didn't get time to see such and such or go such and such. But we was everywhere. But it just never enough time in the day, you know, nothing like that.
So yeah, so I would say to you, you know, maybe put a little bit of thought into that. You know, it's Scott, my partner here. Mm-hmm. He's the one that's got me kind of thinking that way. You know, to start thinking about an exit strategy at some point. You know, because if it were up to me, you know, I might still be building cases at 75 years old. You know, I mean, it's not that I want to necessarily retire, but I want to build a life work balance. You know, that allows us to retain some kind of control.
Right.
While also bringing other people in and mentoring them, but also spend some time going around the world, you know. I'd like to go to I'd like to go see how leather is made in the ancient ways, you know.
Right.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head where I was, but I saw this place where they tan and dye the leather outside in these big pools.
I know what you're talking about. I think
Morocco, I think, or something
Yeah.
like that, you know. So I'd kind of like to go see that.
Right.
So it sounds like you got so much going on, and it's you and your partner,
Yeah.
you know. So I think it would be really cool to see you start mentoring some people and bringing them in.
Yeah.
You said your niece is in.
Yeah.
But one thing that you said that really, really resonates with me, and I wish that I could get to this point, is when we ask you about self-care, and you said, I just don't wake up stressed and I don't go to bed stressed.
Nope. Don't wake up negative. I don't go to bed negative. I don't wake up stressed. I don't go to bed stressed. I was one of them people at one time. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, you know, and I posted a lot on my Facebook.
How'd you overcome that?
You know, it took a while. You know what I mean? 'Cause at that time, before I moved to Germany, you know, I lost my mom. You know, so that had me stressed out a lot. I was mad a lot. You know what I mean? That, you know, I'm like, I could say the first few years of my marriage, I'm like, I was so mad and stressed out. I'm like, man, I missed out on enjoying that. So when I told myself, you know, it's cool to get counseling. You got to, if you got to have it. You know, did that, you know, I'm like, still stressed out. I'm like, no, it's me. You know, I turned off the switch. I'm not going to go to bed stressed, not going to wake up. Everything going to be fine. You know what I mean? I just been going through life the last 10, 15 years like that. That's just me. I'm not going to go to bed stressed, you know, because you're not going to wake up in a good mood. You know, depression and stress is a luxury. I don't have that luxury.
Do you have any kind of a routine, or is this just something where you kind of just made a decision one day and that's how you are?
I just made that decision. You know, I'm like, I'm just going to grind it out. I'm going to work past the stress and all that, have fun. You know, and a lot of people forget in life to go have fun.
No, I agree with that a lot.
They forget to have fun. You know, that's like, even, you know, I didn't worked all them years. I'm like, man, I'm like, y'all coming here stressed out. Like, it's just a job. You can get another job if you're not happy.
That's actually a really great point. You know, and I have to say that I took the opposite route. I tend to get a little bit heavy-handed on the you know, almost borderline OCD sometimes on how things should be.
Yeah. I'm that way too at point. I even apply that with people. You know what I mean? You can be around people. You know, you can be around people that's always stressed out, mad. And you know what? They have you stressed out and mad.
I'm probably one of those people that stresses people out.
You know,
so.
And I kind of always be like, hey, you know, anybody I'm around like that, hey, it's gonna be better.
Yeah,
it's gonna get better. You know,
fantastic.
Guess what? We living, we upright. You know what I mean? I preach this to my friends, my fraternity brothers, my own brother. You know what I mean? We open our eyes. We good. We on the other side of the ground. It could be a lot worse. You know.
Yeah. Now I do say that often. You know, I say to people, it could be worse. At least I'm on the right side of the ground.
Right.
But then I think to myself, you know, how much do I really believe that? You know, if I'm not really enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know,
I understand where you're coming
my
from.
day. So another thing is when we ask you for what advice that you would give people, you said, you know, you really need to have a good work ethic, have thick skin. But then there was something else that you said that actually kind of bothers me a little bit.
Okay.
And you said that you end up having to work harder to make the same amount of money that you made in your corporate career.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would say to you that if I were advising you, or if we were advising you at Turtlesmith, you know, we would want to look at that, and we'd want to say things like, hey, maybe you need to raise your prices or something like that, because if you're your own boss, which is one of the things you said that you enjoy about doing what you do, you shouldn't be working harder to make the same as what you made working less for someone else.
Yeah.
You know, when you had, like you said, it's just a job.
Yeah.
And you presumably did a good job, right?
Yeah.
I think you did, because you had a lot of good clients. And
yeah, I was able to retire,
roots.
so I can't complain. Yeah.
Right. And so, do you think that that's a good thing to work harder to make the same amount, or is it a mixture of you just enjoy it so much that you're not really thinking about it in those terms, really?
I enjoy it. You know, I mean, like I said, because the majority of the time I'm not physically doing any work. I'm probably working on the design, or I'm just thinking of an idea. Just like when I'm doing my car show events, and then I'm doing merchandise. Like this, say for instance, when I'm doing shirts, I'm doing any type of merch. I look at a calendar. I'm like, man, what holiday coming up? I always think about, like, to say we got Halloween coming up. I just did a whole set of Halloween shirts. So I'm like, cool. You know what I mean? Some people gonna sleep and wait to the last 3 days before Halloween get here to start doing that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna think a month ahead.
No, that's a great trade.
So that's kind of what, I tell people all the time, you work about 16 hours a day. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, majority of it is like just thinking, plotting, planning.
Okay, now that puts puts it into a little bit more perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like you're
ain't gonna be
16 hours of straight
constant
making
work.
T-shirts.
I go crazy. You know what I mean? In the beginning, I was doing that all the time around the clock. I'm like, cool, the money's great. I'm like, damn, I'm tired as hell. Like, I'm retired. I'm like, okay, hold on, I got to replan this. I did that for about a year off and on. The money was real great. You know what I mean? But I was just, people call, hey, I need this made. Okay, I'll jump up and go do it. Like, no, I got regular hours. I'm only at 5 o'clock. I'm off.
So it's you and your partner.
Yeah.
And you said that part of it is you end up working harder to make the same amount. So and I noticed that you said all of your funding was self-funded. You're self-funded from your savings. You took some out of your 401k. You did take a lot of advice, but you didn't want favors from other people because you didn't want to owe anybody.
I don't like feel like I owe anybody anything. Because, that's the same thing, go take a loan out at the bank. You still owe it. Go take a loan out from somebody. You still owe it. Or if people giving you stuff. I don't want nobody ever come saying, remember I did that for you? No, you ain't gonna have a chance to do that. I'm gonna do it myself. So it took me a little longer than the average business owner, but if I quit today, stop today, I don't owe nobody nothing.
Now that's one thing, where I'm going to bet that you and I are kind of opposite on this. Is you seem very friendly and outgoing and making good connections with people. Mm-hmm. I fire a lot of customers. So I noticed that one of the things when we ask you about the best part, where you said connecting with people.
Yeah.
And I can really resonate with that because back in the day when I first got started making cases, one of the things I loved so much was delivering cases personally to people. So I'd take an order and then I'd make it, and it'd take me about a week or so, and then I would meet them at another tournament and I'd go and deliver it to them, and I'd really see them light up.
Right.
But then we ask you about what is the worst thing in business, and then you also said people.
Yeah.
And it was people expecting favors, people they get to know you, and I find that I find a parallel in my business as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've started to do is deliberately not do business with people who are in my community.
Yeah, I look at it like this. I try to think outside the box. It took me a minute on the business end to do that. You know what I mean? I'm like, let me think outside of my circle. Because sometimes that circle, I know you. So
right.
you should do it for me for free.
Yeah. Not only that, but I also find that it's real hard to criticize someone who's your friend if they don't do the level of work that you want them to do.
Right. Yep.
So I'd almost rather not know the level of work they do and just be their friend on the hobby side of it. Like you go to the car meets to meet them. I go to pool tournaments.
Right.
Go to pool tournaments, be acquaintances. I'll push my friends' businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the guy that says I know a guy.
Yeah.
But in the past couple of years, I've become the kind of person that doesn't really want to hire those people.
Yeah.
Only because I just don't want to have that awkwardness if something doesn't go right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. It's kind of hard to be like, sometimes you're like, nah, man, I'm just going. It's not worth the headache.
Now I have another question though. Do you find that some of your customers, that they are also your friend, or they want to be your friend more than maybe you want to do it? So I find sometimes when when customers get me on the phone, they want to tell me about everything.
Yeah.
They want to, and then they start calling me every day, or they send me emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bad sometimes because number one, I don't have time to carry on all these conversations.
Right.
But I don't feel as much affection for them as maybe they think that I do.
Yeah.
Or as much as they feel for me.
Right.
So I have, like, when I talk about business in my community and things like that, I'll often kind of say to people, I'll say, it's really hard if you're a small maker, if you're, a small business person and you're the one wearing most of the hats. It's real hard to carry on conversations, because every conversation you carry on, it's less time that I can be building cases, your case or even other people's cases.
It's hard. And you can't be on the phone like 4 or 5 hours. I try to get right to the point. Like, hey, I got a lot of other stuff lined up. I can't have a 5-hour conversation and be trying to work at the same time.
So what is your best method for getting somebody off the phone who's getting a little chatty?
Oh, I just get right to the point. Hey, I got a lot on my table. I can't even hold that much of a conversation. But you know what I mean? And then some of them, they'll start texting you a lot of stuff. I'm like, I probably won't reply back right off the bat.
Right.
So I just try to keep it short and keep it straight business, and stuff like that.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I really thank you for coming in and taking the time to talk to our listeners.
Yeah.
And tell them what's going on.
And I appreciate y'all having me.
All right, let's. Calvin will make sure that we have all of your information, so that when we put this up, they'll be able to get to your channels.
Okay.
And really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. No problem.